everybody, and welcome back to Relentless TV. This is episode 2, and we're super stoked to be here with y'all. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Adam.
And we really hope you guys enjoyed last week's episode. We're excited to be here again. Don't forget, these episodes of Relentless TV are coming out every Wednesday. So set a date, set an appointment reminder. Set up an appointment reminder on your calendar so that you don't miss this important information. So today we are going to take a little bit of a deep dive into a topic that seems to be on everybody's minds lately. First and foremost, last week we kind of broke down what you can expect included in your Relentless membership as an agency client. And one of those things was the martial arts systems. And we talked about how much value this really includes. So I wanted to just help you navigate to the section that we're going to focus on today. So if you are in your Done For You dojo or your ad ninjas on the Thinkific platform, okay, in Relentless University, first, if you don't have a login, you can't find your login, you don't know what I'm talking about, please let us know. We'll help you find it. We'll let you know what your login is. We can reset your password, all of that stuff. So please let us know if you need help. But once you're in, you're going to navigate all the way to the section that is called Lead Management and Conversion. And there's going to be about 6 or so lessons in that unit that are going to really help you and your team with getting the most out of your results so that you are really able to convert all of your leads, well, not all, but the appropriate amount of leads into trials. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm just going to close this to give us a little more space. How are you?
I'm great.
Yeah? What's
This
new?
coffee is helping me right now.
Same. Got a little iced coffee. We're having a little team bonding today later on. So we'll be nice and energized for that. So you obviously created these systems. So you're going to be the best person to ask. Let's start with some vocab, just so everybody's speaking the same language. Let's start with the word lead. For you, what is the definition of the word lead?
Lead is anyone that gives you their name, email, and in this case, phone number, in exchange for information. So usually they're opting in because they want to find out about the special, they want to find out more about your school, they want to get the exclusive online website special, whatever it is, they're giving you their information in exchange for some other piece of information that you're providing to them.
You might also hear the word opportunity or prospect. Those all mean leads as well. Again, using the criteria that they have provided you with some sort of contact information. Okay, now trial. There's a couple different types of these. What's a good definition for trial?
I typically consider trials paid trials. So if someone purchased your 21-day for $21 offer or whatever trial that you're running, after they make the purchase, they officially become a trial.
Okay, appointment.
Appointment is just anyone that's booked an appointment. So if you're running free offers, you don't have trials you're tracking, you have appointments that you're tracking. If you're running paid trials, not only are you tracking paid trials, but you're also tracking, did they actually book after they paid for the trial, which is why we always encourage you guys to redirect them to a scheduling page so that they can book immediately on their own right after purchase.
Okay, and a member?
Member is someone that has enrolled in a full membership in your school. So they're no longer on a trial membership. They are on whatever your beginner membership is at your school.
So it seems, very maybe for you, basic information, what these words mean. But I think it's important to always start, especially when you're teaching your team, with those basics. Mm-hmm. Don't skip over the vocab because they might not understand these words in the same way that you do, in the same way that you talk about them. Sometimes they can have multiple words to mean the same thing. So it's a great teaching principle. Always start with the vocab that makes sure everybody is speaking the same language. So the next thing that we're going to cover is the conversion pillars. You can find all of this information in much more detail in the martial arts systems. So not only will you find a lead follow-up flow SOP, say that 10 times fast, but you're also going to find videos of Adam really going through each of these steps of the SOP, including what we're about to talk about now, which is what we call the conversion pillars. Essentially what these are sort of the standards you want to look for to make sure that your team is performing each operation the best possible way. So let's talk first about visits. We haven't talked about that vocab word yet, but what is a visit?
Visit is typically a website visit. So someone that's actually gone to your website page and at least waited for the page to load. So that's what we consider visits. Now, you should have thousands of visits a month at least to your website. If not, it probably means you're not doing a great job driving traffic to your website. So maybe you're not running Google ads, or maybe you just don't have your website in enough places for people to see and go to access.
And don't forget, we do offer Google ads. So
Yep.
don't forget, get yours set up. So then after someone comes to visit the website, the next probable step for them is to somehow give us their information. Remember, that's called a lead. What would you consider the sort of standard percentage of visits to leads? What are we looking for?
So a good website will convert at least 10% of the visitors into a lead. If you're below 10%, it just might be that your website isn't set up to convert leads, and maybe you just have an info-based website. But I always encourage you guys to look at your Google Analytics. If you have a website dashboard, look at that and see how many of your visitors are actually converting. And I always recommend look at a 90-day time frame when you're looking at this, because if you just look at this week, there may have just been something that happened this week that decreased the amount of conversions. So you want a bigger picture, so that way you can see a good aggregate of data to base your decision off of is my website performing like it should be?
Yeah, and that's something that I would audit on a regular basis. Don't just assume that the website's performing for you, right? We always want to have these diagnostic tools, and we should put it, again, set a date on your calendar to remind yourself to go back through and audit these things. So now people are at the website and they are hopefully opting in somehow, and then they become what we've called a lead. And so then a lead is going to hopefully become a trial, or typically that is the next step. What would we consider sort of that standard of conversion for lead to trial? What are we looking for?
So the benchmark we're looking for is 50% of our leads to convert into paid trials. Now, that's not the average of the industry.
No.
I would say the average is probably close to 17% right now across the entire industry. But you should be shooting for that 50% mark. In my own school, when everything's running on all cylinders and I know the team is kicking butt with their lead follow-up, they're being super responsive, getting back to people quickly, we're usually around that 50% mark. The months that they start to drop the ball, then we start seeing it drop to like 20%. So there's a lot of things, and especially in the training and martial arts systems, that will help you guys take it from whatever you're at now to get it up closer to 50%.
And so this is something that you want your studio manager, program director, whoever it is that you have in charge of lead follow-up, to be constantly measuring against or working towards. So if they know the conversion principles that we're looking for, it helps them measure their performance and see what they need to be doing different to increase that percentage. So from lead to trial, we're looking for 50% conversion, and that would be what we would consider really, really good. And then from trial, the next step is typically to set up an appointment. If you're working with us, then you know that happens typically automatically. But what are we looking for in terms of trial to appointment?
Yeah,
conversion?
Good question. So paid trials really should be about 97% appointment rate because they have skin in the game. And also, if you have them auto being directed to a scheduling page where they self-schedule, it's pretty easy to be 97% or higher with your trial to appointment bookings. Now, where we typically see this drop off is when people don't have it point to a scheduler after the person makes a trial purchase, because then they're just calling them to try and get a hold of them to book. They're playing phone tag, and it really lowers the percentage of people that are actually going to come in for a class, because you can't even get them to book in the first place.
Yeah, most people, they just want to be able to do it themselves. Do you still think it'd be nice / great customer service to try and get on a call with these people and chat with them a little bit about the program?
I think in the confirmation phase, absolutely. So once they actually book, and I know we have emails and text messages set up for all of you guys that actually does confirm and remind and help build up the buy-in before they show up. But nothing beats actually talking to the person and building that rapport before they show up.
That's kind of what I was thinking too, is the more you can have a conversation with someone before they actually walk through the door their first time, the more likely you are to develop a relationship where they know, like, and trust you.
Agreed.
So it's really important to, even though we have these automations set up, to still think of each individual lead as the most important person in your pipeline. Okay, so now they've set up their first class, they have an appointment. What is our show rate goal? I forgot to write it down, but I know you know what it is.
So show up rate on a paid trial should be about 97%. Again, most of the time when they pay for something, they don't want to lose out on that money, so it gets them to show up. Now, if you're running free trials, these numbers are going to be a lot different for you. The free trial, once they book, to show up rate, for kids, it's about a 75% show up rate. For adults, it's like a 40 to 50% show up rate, just because they don't have any skin in the game. They haven't put any money up. So if they miss the appointment, there's no like penalty. There's nothing they lose out on.
Mm-hmm. And that's the other reason why I really encourage people to have as many conversations before, because that's skin in the game too.
Yes.
So it's a lot easier to ghost someone you don't know, you've never spoken to. If you guys had an appointment with someone you cared about, you wouldn't just not show up, not call.
Yep.
And so people are much more likely to at least call and let you know if they're not going to be there versus just completely ghost.
Agreed.
All right. And so then they show up. And then, of course, our next step is to wow them, to give them such a great experience that they want to sign up immediately. Maybe you guys have a first day close. I think for me, it's the best day to try to get
Agreed.
the close. That's what the sales success system is going to teach you. So if you're following that, but even if you're not inviting them to join on day one, we still want to know, what is your conversion from basically a show to a new member? We call that your closing percentage. And what would we look for as far as that?
For our closing percentage, 85% is like the benchmark for what we look for. Forever in our industry, everyone's like, 50% is awesome. When is 50% awesome for anything, in my opinion? Like if you
lead to trial.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the only time. But when you're enrolling it, if you have 50% of the people saying no after you talk to them and they've been in your school, there's either a problem with your sales system, or there's a problem with the class quality, or just the overall experience that they have. They're not seeing the value in the program, and that's why they're saying no. That's usually the biggest thing. And I see, and I've seen this all over, even before I started the agency, people tend to blame when they can't enroll people. They're like, oh, these are bad quality leads. No. Like, if you give me any lead and they show up for a class, like, I'm going to enroll at least 85% of them no matter what. And you guys should be able to do the same thing and have that same mentality. If they show up, they are a good lead no matter what. The problem is they're not seeing the value in your program, and that's why they're not enrolling. Or the sales system isn't really a system, and you're just sort of winging it or saying what you think is right. If you guys go through the Relentless University and the Martial Arts Systems course, we have the sales success system. Mm-hmm. This has been tested, stress tested, and proven for years and years and years to get close to 85% at the very least for your closing percentage. There's psychology behind it. There's intention and strategy behind every single aspect of it. And if you guys haven't started using that yet, that should be one of the first implementations that you do, is jump into that course, because you're going to waste a lot of leads. You're going to waste a lot of trials if you don't have the system in place to close them.
So you're saying a good lead is a living, breathing human being.
Yes.
That's really the only criteria that shows up.
Yeah. If they're living, breathing, and they're within 15 minutes drive time of your school, it is a good lead. Yeah. I don't care about anything else. Okay. And some of you guys may be like, well, what about income? Doesn't that come into play? It can, but if you show value, parents will sacrifice other things if they know that this is something that's going to change their child's life in a positive way. They will end a Netflix subscription. They will go to Starbucks less, whatever it is, to make sure that they're providing an amazing future for their kid. The question for you guys to ask yourself is, am I doing a good job communicating, relaying, and demonstrating that this is something that they should put their trust in to change their kid's life?
And think about all the things that they afford that they don't need.
Yes.
You know, when you say people who might not have the financial means, they're still finding a way to buy what they want. People buy what they want regardless of their financial status. So another thing that's really important about that is the mindset. And so you can see, like Adam and myself, we just don't even entertain the idea of a bad lead. Mm-hmm. And whether or not we could argue if that's true, if there are certain things that kind of make someone a less qualified lead or a less hot lead, the truth is it's your mindset that is really helping you mm-hmm. and your team. So if you start telling yourself there are bad leads and good leads, or these leads are qualified, these leads aren't, that becomes a self-limiting belief
yes.
for you, for your team, and it just perpetuates that idea. So again, regardless of its validity, just try to help your team with a very strict mindset that every lead is a good lead, and then it's our job, once that living, breathing human walks through the door, to show them this value, to show them that it's worth it. And I would argue everything up until that point matters too. Whenever I teach sales, I'm always like, it's not the actual moment where you ask them A or B. That's not the sale. The sale is happening the moment they see your marketing material, the moment someone reaches out to them, the moment they get an email, a text, the moment you set up their class. Like, all of those interactions are building a value or not to allow them to decide if this is something they want to continue on with. So just keep in mind that all of these different phases of the lead to member stage are so important. And I love that you just talked about being intentional. It reminds me of Walt Disney and our experience this summer with the Mastermind. We brought the Mastermind group to Orlando at Walt Disney Institute, and they learned some of the behind the scenes stuff, which was really cool. It was nice to be able to be on the other side of the Disney stage. But one of the things that we talked about over and over again was how intentional Walt Disney was about what he wanted his clients or his visitors to feel.
Yep.
Every step of the way. I mean, they are so intentional. Everything in the parks has a purpose. They even say, like, the garbage cans have to be 30 feet apart exactly, so that there's never a chance for someone to, throw something on the ground. And so there's just so much thought and strategic intentionality behind everything. And that's the same for lead follow-up. You have to really imagine what it's like to be the prospect or to be the lead or the person who's on the other side of this, and make sure you're intentional about what you want them feeling every step of the way. So now we've gone through kind of this conversion pillar. I want you to highlight in particular the SMS process of following up. So when someone is responding to the automations, they're going to show up in your Relentless account. They're going to be in that conversations tab. We talked last week about making sure you get it on your phone so that your team is able to respond to leads, because the first and most important rule, I think, is
5 minutes. 5 minutes to win it. You have to get a hold of your lead within 5 minutes, especially with text messaging. When a lead texts you a question, it means that they are in the space where they're ready to have a conversation about this. So if you send them a text back 5 hours later, they might be at the gym, they might be picking up their kids from something, and they just look at it and they say, I'll get back to it later, and we all know what that means, that they're going to forget about it. So it's so important that when they do send a question or they do send a reply to the automated text messages, within 5 minutes we're hitting them back so we can keep that conversation going, build rapport, and then get them to a trial. I also want to really stress that when you guys are having a conversation through text message, it's not that different from the phone in the sense that you should be trying to build rapport. The very first goal of that conversation should be connect and find the pain points of this person, not shove a trial membership down their throat. You need to find out what they're looking for. You need to answer questions they have, and then once you've built that relationship, then it's a lot easier to say, hey, let me get you your child's spot reserved. Is it okay if I send this link over? And then you shoot them over the link. The other thing with text messaging is it's not email, guys. I go into some accounts and I see like a text message that long. The only people that send text messages that long are stalkers. You don't be a stalker. All right? Text messages should be short and sweet and to the point. Excuse me. Also, use emojis. All right? When we think about text messages, when you receive a text message from someone, you always tend to read that text message in whatever mood you're in, which means if you're agitated at the time you get a text message, you sort of read it with a pissed off voice when you read it. So that can also happen to the person on the other side that you're texting. So how do we get the ability to convey the emotions that we want to convey? You do it with emojis. If you do a smiley face emoji, they know you're in a good mood when you're sending it. If you do a thumbs up, they know it's a positive sign. So use emojis to help just convey what the emotions are that you want them to feel when they read that text message. The other thing I want to make sure that you guys understand is text messages are really easy to start being ghosted on as well. So if I just respond to a person's question and then I end with a statement, very good probability that that conversation is going to die, okay? And they're going to start ghosting you. So what I always try and do is when I'm responding to a lead, and even if I answer their question, I always ask a question back at the end of my text message to keep that conversation going. And it's pretty much just telling them like, hey, I want a reply from you. That's all you're doing. Even when I send the checkout link for them to purchase their trial, I'll wait a minute and then I send another text that says, hey, did that link work okay for you? Right? We want to keep it going. We don't want to just send something and then leave it be, because that conversation is going to end real fast. last thing, your phone has this amazing app on it called the phone app.
So does your Relentless app.
It calls people. It's amazing. It doesn't just like take pictures and go on social media. You can actually call people with your phone. The days of like just text and email automation to convert leads are over. They're long gone, guys. And I know a lot of you are like, hey, well, when we came out of COVID, like it killed it for us. I get it. But if we think about the early days of email, before all the marketing emails were being sent out to people, like you read every single email in your inbox because you thought every single one was important. If you look at my phone right now, the number of text message marketing messages that I receive from different people, different companies, is almost getting close to turning into an email inbox. So we have a lot more competition when it comes to the number of businesses that are texting people now. And guess what? It's a lot easier for people to get a text from a business and just overlook it or not think of it as important because they're getting text messages from businesses all the time nowadays. So for you guys, you have to call because most of these other businesses too are not picking up the phone and calling anymore. That's where you can stand out in terms of service and then just overall execution of getting leads to convert. You should be calling consistently until you hear them say no or not interested.
Yeah, that was one of the things that came to mind for me as well is just as a couple of best practices for you and your team, whoever's in charge of your lead follow-up, is to be relentless. Yep. And not allow one no or two no's to necessarily deter you from continuing to try to spark their interest, get their attention. I feel like in this particular phase, before they're actually a trial, right? So lead to trial, one of the things that happens, you just explained, is our texts get mixed in with a bunch of other texts that no one's looking at. And then we continuously send out the same text over and over and over again, trying to get someone's attention. So when we think of lead follow-up, or I'll let you know a lot of your team members think this way too, they think send the same text every day for 20 days until you get a response, and then send an email every day for 20 days, and then call and leave the same voicemail every day and that's not going to cut it. In fact, you are going to annoy people that way. So I get team members who say, isn't this going to annoy people when we're relentless about following up with them all the time? And the answer is yes, if you're sending the same exact text every single day. So in my opinion, what works really well is kind of thinking outside the box. You have all of these automations that are set up through Relentless that are supporting you, but they're not the be all end all. There still has to be effort that comes from you and your team. And so I was wondering, could we help them with some out of the box strategies that are kind of not this, but could be helpful? And that doesn't mean they should replace this. And when I say this, what I'm saying is there is a lead follow-up SOP that you should follow from start to finish with every lead. I've got it right here. I printed it out. There's also a script, so a lead follow-up call script for you and your team so that you know exactly what to say when you are on the phone. And there's a lead follow-up voicemail script so that you guys are fully equipped with everything you need to follow the SOP. But this is like, I don't know, for me, like bare minimum.
Yeah.
Like this has to happen no matter what, but it's not the only thing that can happen. There can be more. In fact, if and I've done sales for a long time, I am not only relying on the bare minimum because my whole entire goal is to get to a yes, and I'll do whatever it takes. And that's sort of the mentality your team needs as well. So Adam, one creative out-of-the-box activity you can think of for lead to trial.
I would send them a customized video. And then what I would do is with that video, when you send it in the text, I would say, hey, if you watch this full video and let us know, I'm going to hook you up with a free Move water bottle when you come in for your first class. So you just give them some sort of incentive as well to watch it because, yes, they're going to be more likely to watch a video than read the other text, but also like tell them that you're going to give them something as a result of doing it. And you just send a personalized video saying that you can't wait to meet them. You're really excited to get them in. You only have X number of spots left. And we want to be able to provide you with amazing service. So if you have any questions or anything stopping you from getting going, please let us know. We'd be happy to jump on a call with you and answer all of your questions.
So I love that idea. And not only is personalized greetings to the parents great, but you can also do personalized greetings to the kids. Yep. And if it's a kids program and they're getting a message from their future coach or from their future instructor, it's a really powerful moment for them.
Yes.
I'm a mom. I have 2 little kids. My son would be over the moon if one of the coaches sent him a personalized video message. The other thing is that Your team is very creative. I'm guessing most of your teams consist of younger people.
Yep.
They're teenagers who are all on social media. They know the best apps and the tickety talks and the Instagrams and all that. So I rely on them to help.
MySpace, you forgot.
MySpace. I don't know, Amal. I'm at the point where I really try not to be on social media if I can help it. But they have the creative juices. They have the technical know-how. Let them help you. Sending out things like a reel might sound crazy, but have your team batch content at the beginning of the week. So everybody gets together. It's maybe a 20, 30-minute project every Monday or every Friday or whatever it is. And let your team be creative. Hey, I want you to do 5 different reels together, or I want each of you to create a message to future prospects or future clients. Maybe a cool boomerang. Are those still cool? I don't know.
No one boomerangs anymore.
All right, no one boomerangs.
Yeah, we're going to pull that one back.
I think they're cool still. Board breaks, or flying kicks, or jump kicks, or a submission move, like something that's going to give them a teaser of what they can expect in class.
Don't send them sparring footage.
Something that will excite the prospect, right? Or like I said, some sort of cool picture of the team. Hey, this is Team Relentless. We can't wait to meet you.
Or do the video with your team even. Like if you have a staff meeting one day, pull out a list of every lead that hasn't responded. You're going to have the whole group in there. Everyone's going to be like, Jeremy, we are so excited to meet you. We can't wait. Yeah. Just like the energy that comes off from that video, and then the fact that your whole team took the time out to make that video for that kid or for that parent, that's pretty powerful, and they're not getting that experience anywhere else.
And it only takes 10 seconds per person. So even if you had 50 people, it's not a long task, and it's worth it. So just being creative and letting your team help, I found to be really positive. And also you can batch it. So if you create a whole library of content, now again, whoever's in charge of your lead follow-up can continuously send it out. The idea behind these types of messages is to get their attention. So remember, you're fighting for their attention with everything else, not just their other marketing messages, but everything that's going on in their life. And when they're getting a boring text, hey, this is Adam from Relentless, I heard you were interested, it's not enough to keep their attention. So try to find ways of even playing with your language on the text message and making it sound more conversational so that people aren't, we all know we get that standard message from AT&T that everybody else got it as well. It's not personalized. So just keep that in mind. What would stop you if you received a text message to be able to motivate you to take action? For me, like I said, a lot of it has to do with what is going to excite my child.
Yeah.
So if you send something that gets their attention, or I can show them, hey, check this out. This is what your new karate school is going to do when you get there.
So I think tour videos are awesome for that as well. We had a great one we used to use for MX that we had sent out, but basically start outside the school. You say, hey, I'm Adam from Move Martial Arts, come follow me. And then they just follow you inside the door. They see a quick little brief layout of the school. You don't need to actually do a full tour. And then it just cuts to action shots from class where you see kids jumping over stuff, being athletic. You see the student and teacher relationship, that mentoring relationship. You hear the coach talking about life skills. You see the kids breaking boards and having fun, high-fiving each other. Like, that's what parents need to see, because the thing that's stopping them is either they're just not ready, they don't see the value in it yet, or there's just too many unknowns for them to make a decision. And that removes a lot of the unknowns from the equation and will help push them over the edge.
Yeah, it keeps it front of mind. You can send event clips. So if you just did your Easter egg hunt, send them that clip, send parent night out clips. Again, there's no rule or limit to how many times you can extend. And if you're creating good content, it's not going to be annoying. It's going to be helpful. You can send them educational content. You can send them testimonials, inspiration.
Testimonials are awesome to send as well.
So you get the idea. And again, I like having the team help. That way, every week you've got fresh ideas. They can even do pop culture references. Again, they're young. They know.
GIFs are really good to send as well. I remember, there's a funny story. I had a DoorDash driver once that sent me, and he's like, hey, I'm on the way with your food. And they sent me a GIF of this Honda Civic all souped up, burning the wheels out and taking off. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then he's like, hey, I just realized I didn't put sauce in there. He's like, I'm going to get back. And then there was another little GIF of Tom and Jerry running in place and then going off. And it was just a cool thing. And I tipped the guy $100 for a $20 order. And I was like, that was the best customer service I've ever seen from a DoorDash driver. And it just kept me engaged the whole time. out somewhere, but I kept looking at my phone. I'm like, well, I wonder what the next thing this crazy dude's going to send.
Yeah, it's just fun. It's something different. And that's what I'm saying is like, get their attention. And yeah, the automations that come from Relentless are great. They're certainly better than nothing, but they're not going to be the magic bullet that you need to get your lead to convert to a trial. So hopefully...
If you don't hear from them, like a funny thing you can do is send the Titanic GIF of like of the old lady where it's like it's been 80 years, and then like be joking with it. Send like one of the silly emojis with it so they know it's like you being silly, but like, hey, in all seriousness, just want to check in, make sure you're okay, see how we can help you type of thing. And
remember, they're not a dead lead until they've literally said, "Stop calling me." And don't train your team not to be afraid to get that type of rejection. That's what a good salesperson does. They stay on it until it's a no.
Also, I think that stuff just makes it more fun for your team to actually follow up with leads because they get to be creative a little bit.
Exactly. It's not the same thing.
And pre-approve the GIFs that they're using as well.
Probably pre-approve it all.
Yes.
Pre-approve it all. Okay. This is your suggestion for a book that might help them with some of this stuff.
So just different perspective on lead follow-up. There's definitely some things that we do similar to what's in this book, but there might be some other ideas you get from it as well, which is Gym Launch Secrets by Alex Hormozi. He really goes into detail on what he talks to them about on the phone, goes through the lead follow-up process that he uses. Obviously, he's talking more like 6-week challenge type of follow-up, but there's still a lot of like nuggets that you can pull out of that. The one thing that is very consistent with what we do is being relentless about following up the leads, picking up the phone and calling them. The book may talk about calling in the first 15 minutes because back in the day you could probably get away with that, but it's now the 5-minute rule. But great book to read and just get a good understanding of a different way to do lead follow-up in the sales process.
All right. Well, hopefully that was helpful. I know a lot of you might have already been through some of the martial arts systems. This is a really good one to review on a regular basis and to make sure your team is involved in reviewing as well. And we have a couple of announcements and then we'll wrap up this episode. First and foremost, summer camp is right around the corner. For a lot of you, you guys are getting ready to host your summer camp. Make sure you're getting all of your materials to us so that we can launch your campaigns for you and make your summer camp a success. Don't forget also, the 15th of the month is the deadline for all of our ad campaign materials, now and forever. So again, mark your calendars. 15th of the month, submit all of your material for the campaigns. And then finally, if you guys have any suggestions for what you want to hear on Relentless TV, or if there's anything else that we can do to support you, please let us know. We're here for you. Thanks for joining me, Adam.
My pleasure. See you guys next time.